Hello and welcome to the program. I haven't done a short video in quite a while. I have been so busy with projects. I just put out chapter 3 of Disciples of Ra, which I don't have the background for. This is from Illuminati Unmasked. I'm going to have to create another one for RBN Presents. I should have it somewhere, but I don't have it with me right now. I want to do a movie review of this new Jesus Revolution movie with Kelsey Grammer and this character here, which will be this is Jonathan Rami, and he's in the movie. He's one of the main characters in the movie, and so we'll get to him in a minute because there's a lot of Jezidoo on him, lots and lots of Jezidoo on this character. And but basically what I want to get at is, first of all, it's not a bad movie in a sense of production wise. The story flow was really, really good, but I have some concerns, okay? And I know I'm going to be alienated. Of course, I've been alienated from a lot of some friends, and I really wanted to like this movie. I really did, but then I did some background checking, and mainly on this character that Jonathan Rami, I can't even pronounce his name. Now, he is most prominent for the series The Chosen, which now I just recently found out. I knew there was something odd about this series because it's supposed to be on the life of Christ, but now I found out that it's the Mormon version of the Christ story. And so that right there sent up red flags for me. So what I want to do is not so much deal with Jonathan Rami right now and his character in The Chosen, but the character he plays in the movie Jesus Revolution, where he plays Lonnie Frisbee. Now, here's the problem I have with Lonnie Frisbee, and I know I wanted to do this because I wanted to share the truth about this man. And this is the man that Jonathan Rami is portraying in the movie. Now, what they don't share about you is that this man was a struggling homosexual and very immersed into drugs. This is the way he kind of looked when he met Chuck Smith. And let me get over to Wikipedia here, because this is really what really got me is even though the movie does not actually follow this guy, but he is one of the main characters in the movie. There's 3 characters in the movie. There's Lonnie Frisbee. There is Chuck Smith, who is no longer with us, who is a pastor who became a part of Calvary Chapel. Also, too, Greg Lowry, who is now a big evangelist. And I say that lightly because I question the fruit there, who is good friends with Lonnie Frisbee. And this is the part here that really got me, is because he was involved in the Bohemian nudist group, really into drugs. Now, It says here in now this is user edited Wikipedia, so we don't know how much is true and how much is false. But it also says here Frisbee's unofficial evangelism career began as part of a soul-searching LSD acid trip. Now, they don't bring this out in the movie, even though they hinted about it in the movie. And if I can find the clip, I'll show it. But here is what is the most disturbing about this, is that in his soul-searching trip, part of a regular turn-on, tune-in, drop-out session of getting high. Now, they did kind of lightly touched on this in the beginning of the movie. He would often read the Bible while tripping. On one pilgrimage with his friends in Takoots, I can't even pronounce it, Takoots County outside of Palm Springs. Instead of looking for meaning again in mysticism and the occult, Frisbee started reading the Gospels of John to the group, eventually leading the group to Takoots Falls, preaching the gospel. His grand vision of, now this is under the influence of LSD. Now don't tell me nowhere in the Bible you explain to me how an illegal drug, pharmakia, as it says in the Bible, how God would use that to turn this guy into an evangelist. This is what concerns me, okay? His grand vision of spreading the Christianity to the masses alienated his family. Frisbee left for San Francisco, where he had won fellowship with San Francisco Arts. He was in Haight-Ashbury. He also mentions in the movie when he was up there in Haight-Ashbury that he experimented with drugs and had sex with anybody and anything. So that could be a wide range of things. But according to what I understand from this and other stories, is that he had a vision and that the Holy Spirit came over him. And there's a video out there of his testimony about this. Also, later on, he was removed from Calvary Chapel because of his lifestyle as a partier. I mean, he was married to Connie, and it's brought out in the movie, but they had their problems and stuff. Well, because she was probably couldn't deal with his homosexuality. And I understand there's people who struggle. Sin is sin, okay? And I'm not a hard pounder on homosexuals. There are some that are steeped into it. There are some who are in gross sin that go after your children. That is bad. But if somebody who's trying to struggle to get out of that lifestyle, we need to help them be set free. But in this case, all the way up until his death, he was a practicing homosexual that got AIDS. Now, the thing of it is, AIDS was not transmitted through sexual. And what was brought out in, let me go back. Let me stop sharing here. What is brought out in Illuminati Unmasked and the Disciples of Ra, that it was AZT that killed him. AZT was a medication given to these AIDS patients because they were sick, because not only were they promiscuously in sex, they were also doing drugs on top of that, and they were also taking those poppers. So, and they were living a lifestyle that was unhealthy, made them sick, and the AZT that was given to Lonnie Frisbee killed him. Look it up. Disciples of Ra, Johnny Cerrucci. I'm working on all that. I believe it's in chapter 1 that I just produced recently. And then there's chapter 2, and I'm currently working on chapter 3. Okay. So this is the background of Lonnie Frisbee. Now let's get behind the actor who's playing Lonnie Frisbee. Is this gentleman right here, who is a practicing Roman Catholic, who is joined at the hip with the whore of Babylon, the Pope. And here's a story. I got it. I think I've got it set up. Let me.
I was a fan of St. Francis. When he started preaching,
I could see that. Mm-hmm.
He had a walking stick. He had a leather mantle. He probably was barefoot for a lot of the time. And he carried a bag slung around him in which he had a bottle of olive oil that was stuffed with pieces of cinnamon and frankincense, and he would anoint people,
Oh, wow.
Anoint people in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And so he had talked about like being a fan of St. Francis. So before I started work, I went over to Christ Cathedral, and I sat by his grave, and
this is very disturbing.
Oh, I didn't realize he's buried there too.
He's buried there. Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm going to have to go take a look at that.
Yeah, it's powerful. In fact, I sat down and I prayed with him. The space just to his right is empty, so I got to sit down or lie. At one point, I even lied down because I just thought it would be kind of interesting to try to connect in some way. That's probably more information than you need or may even want to publish. But that said, it's the truth. And so I finished praying with him, and I said, Lonnie, I want to honor you with this film, and I really want to bring justice and the testament to the gifts of God's grace and powers that you displayed while you were on this earth. And so if this is a good idea that I do this film, have somebody give me a sign. Give me a sign. Have God give me a sign.
Mm-hmm.
And the minute the words left my mouth, behind me there was a door open to the cathedral, and this giant cord rang out for about 5 seconds, and then
From the organ.
From the organ.
Wow.
I hadn't heard it before.
And that's the very organ that used to be there when it was it's the same organ that when it was the Crystal Cathedral. Mm-hmm. It was sent out and refurbished and whatnot, but it's the same one.
Wow. Isn't that interesting? So we have a Roman Catholic Jesuit. Also, I don't have the video. Hope I'll show it when I edit this thing. Is that Romney is also a Knights Templar. He has been knighted as a Knights Templar.
I'm wearing a mantle and a cross with a little crown on it, a Knight's Cross. 5 years ago, I was knighted by the order, the Solemn Sovereign Military Order of the Temple of Jerusalem. I lost my mind there for a second. Essentially, the Knights Templar, which is what that is.
God is telling this story, and we're just trying to find it.
Scully got a brother. Yeah, that's his brother, Maury and Mary. That's Mary there, Our Lady of Guadalupe. So, dynamic duo, yeah? In a way. Cool. So that's that. 5 years ago, I was knighted by the order, the Solemn Sovereign Military Order of the Temple of Jerusalem. Essentially, the Knights Templar, which is what that is.
So there's tons of residue on this guy. And so, but they're saying, why, Bill, why are you harping on somebody that is playing this character? Well, I'm giving you the real person. I'm giving you the actor who's playing him. Also to Kelsey Grammer. And listen, this is just my opinion, is that if they hadn't have gotten Kelsey Grammer or this gentleman, Jonathan Rami, to play these characters, I don't think this movie would ever see the light of day in theaters. They had to get a big Hollywood actor to really push this thing, because the person that plays Greg Lowry or Lowry, I can't pronounce his name. And also too, except with the exception of Rami, Kelsey Grammer doesn't look anything like Chuck Smith. And neither is the character that plays Greg Lowry also too. And what is suspicious to me is that you don't see much of it in the trailer, but in the movie, I wish I had a clip from it, is that he refers to this one guy in the schoolyard where he picks up his future wife is hanging out with a guy named Charlie. And the guy acts just like Charlie Manson. So was it really Charlie Manson? But it put that in my mind. Okay, all right. Now there's the element of Charles Manson in this, and it's about that same time. Okay, now I want to quickly move from this. I know I'm skipping over a lot of stuff. I just don't have detail. I don't want to take the time to really get into this, but I just want to show you what my concerns are. And I promised everybody I would do a movie review, and that's what I'm doing. And I grew up in part of all this stuff, but this is my thing. I have spent many, many years as a Christian in this religion, which I call churchianity. And it's where you after you say the sinner's prayer and clean up your act, and you go to church make this pilgrimage every Sunday morning or every Saturn's Day and Sun's Day, to go and take this pilgrimage to a church brick and mortar building, put your brain on the shelf and sit for 2 hours and listen to man indoctrinate you. That's what organized religion is. And that's how this all got started. Well, it's a revival. People's lives were changed. Yes, that's great. I love it. But where is the fruit from it? What did we get from this big Jesus movement that took place? What did we get? We got Watergate. We got Iran-Contra. Oh, well, you can't blame the church for that. Well, if this was turning the world, changing the world, how come we got 9/11? How come we got the Patriot Act? Why do we have, what has changed? Has the world changed? Has it gotten better? Has it hastened the return of Jesus Christ? That's what concerns me about this Asbury revival, and I'm going to tie this all into that. What's going to change? Asbury has been having traditional revivals for a long time. The last one they had before this one that's currently happening was back in 1970. Did the world change for the better then? No. Well, it's because it's getting darker, 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 and God's, yeah, that's right. Think about it. Ask the Holy Spirit for discernment. You know, I've alienated a lot of my Adventist brethren because they lean too much on Ellen Gould White, who plagiarized. You know, I used to defend her. I used to defend her on the plagiarism thing. But then I learned what plagiarism was and that she was guilty of it. The church tried to correct her. Not that I'm saying that the church was right, because everything she mentioned is also found in other books, but she didn't credit it. That's plagiarism, and that's in the original books that they call the spirit of prophecy, which most people lean upon more than the Bible. Not to mention that William Miller was a Freemason. He was a deist. And he was also in law enforcement, which was originally created by Ignatius Loyola, a Catholic Jesuit. That's why I encourage you, read Johnny, not that I'm pushing Johnny Cerrucci, but he digs deeper. He goes after the head of the Hydra that won't grow back, and that's the Roman Catholic whore of Babylon, not the people. I love the people that are trapped in that religion just as much as I love the people who are trapped in the religion of Adventism and Mormonism, Jehovah's Witnessism, and all the other isms out there. Folks, all you have to do is read the Bible, get a good Bible and read it. Also, get yourself, I just got a great Greek interlinear Bible. It's all there. You don't need man to teach you what the Holy Spirit is here to teach you. That's why Christ left, or else he would. But if Christ hadn't left, people still would have followed him. He'd still have a following. That's the problem, is too many people follow man. And they put him up on a pedestal. And that's why when you hear about Christianity, you hear about all these great preachers and everything. Well, sure, they were flawed individuals, but they were also, some of them were very corrupt. You know, also during this time, Lonnie Frisbee and his drug trip, that's the same area they were experimenting with MK Ultra. And I don't have the book in front of me. It's in my family room. I'm reading it constantly. Is the story of Susan Ford and her horrific ordeal with perverts like Bob Hope, Ronald Reagan, all the past presidents, including Bill Clinton, Bryce Taylor's Thanks for the Memories, where she was a victim of MK Ultra being controlled by Henry Kissinger, and we know how bad he was. But Bob Hope, beloved Bob Hope, thanks for the memories. The sexual deviant devil, as well as Billy Graham, the Bushes, all the sickening, perverted. And that's what is important right now. Children are being brutally murdered. If not in the womb, they're being sacrificed to Moloch today, as was back in the Old Testament days. It has not changed. There's nothing new under the sun. I'm sorry, this was supposed to be a movie critic of the movie Jesus Revolution. Hey, I mean, it's a good, clean family movie, but you need to know what's behind it all. So, thanks for watching.